Hello, I'm Tom Jensen, a co-founder at Entrepreneur Futures Network, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Po-Chi Wu, also a co-founder of EFN, and welcome to this conversation. Be great if you could share a little bit in terms of what you enjoy in terms of working with entrepreneurs and a little bit on your background.
Thank you, Tom. It's been a privilege to work with you all these years, a couple of decades now, as a co-founder and as an active mentor to many startups through EFN, and generally supporting the startup ecosystem, which I think is really one of the most important things that we do. Brief bit about my background: essentially 4 decades of experience in the startup world. 2 decades as a venture capitalist, a decade teaching entrepreneurship, a decade being on the entrepreneurial side, and now almost a decade as an advisor and mentor. Most of my time these days is spent at Skydeck, which is the UC Berkeley Accelerator Incubator Program, and we are very privileged to have startup founders from all over the world, and it's just such an exciting program. So what I get out of all of this really is I get to be part of a living ecosystem. I get to be part of people's lives. People, they're not always so young. Some are very young. We have some student groups, but we also have very experienced executives and researchers. We get some very high-powered scientists and technical engineers from UC Berkeley and other UC campuses, and we help them understand how some of their brilliant research can be commercialized. And that's always exciting, because I was trained as a scientist, and I've always felt that there's so much more value in what they have done, what they've learned, and it should be commercialized. Unfortunately, it's not so easy, but that's the whole point, right? Life is about challenges, about meeting challenges. Entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs are driven by the urge to solve problems, to create new things, and to be part of that means I'm alive. I get to learn, I get to be challenged, I get to be stimulated, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to bring what I've learned in my experience and to share it with others. What makes the journey meaningful is really a personal growth transformation. And that's certainly something that we have seen at EFN over and over and over again. And that is also very rewarding, I think, for all of us as mentors. I think mentors need to learn more about how to be effective mentors to startup founders. Sometimes mentors who have not had a lot of startup experience themselves may not do as well as someone who has been a serial entrepreneur. Perhaps they failed, and that's not a problem. That's often a huge advantage, because then they can relate to a fresh entrepreneur who is just making those same mistakes kind of for the first time. And we learn from our mistakes. We learn how to develop our intuition. We can't learn enough in sort of the academic tradition. And so all of those things are really important and is part of the art. I think mentoring is a lot more than just the workshops and teaching methods, a lean startup method, or how to do spreadsheets, or even how to prepare a pitch, slides, and so on. All of that is important, but those are just means to an end. And the end really is transforming themselves, the team, to be more responsive. Actually, first to obsess over the problem. And that's something I've only learned recently, which is really interesting, because technical founders tend to obsess over their solution. They love the fact they are creating a new technology or inventing some new kind of product. And that's wonderful, but that's not what the journey is about. Entrepreneurs are, first of all, problem solvers. And to do that, they must understand the community, the stakeholders they're working with. They have to learn to reach out and really seek as much feedback as they can. So in that sense, really anybody can be an effective and useful mentor simply by the questions that they ask. And it's not a matter of expertise, and some mentors are or happen to be experts in that particular field or in that market, industry. And of course that's very helpful, but even those who do not have that kind of specialized knowledge or experience can still be extremely helpful just by being very good listeners and showing the empathy for the founders to help them understand how they can, what they need to do to change.
For new mentors, what are your suggestions in terms of how they should look at mentoring, maybe their mindset, how they should prepare? What are important qualities that they can bring to a mentoring engagement?
I think some of the things that EFN has done in terms of panel discussions with groups of mentors, and so mentors get to learn from other mentors, and that I think is certainly one of the things that I also have found very, very valuable. Serial entrepreneurs are much easier to coach because they are aware, they have made some of those mistakes, they are more humble, and the fact that they have a mentor relationship means that they are more open. So, you know, new mentors need to also start from a position of some humility and openness and learn from not just other mentors, but also from startup founders. And it's the same two-way street, right? Feedback is how we learn. We need feedback, we learn from feedback, and that's what mentors learn. And mentors also find that their work in their, outside of the mentoring activity, whatever their activity is, as investors, they become better investors. If they are still working in the industry, maybe their creativity, their innovative tendencies can be enhanced. And of course, people skills is really, really important. As a mentor, we deal with a lot of different people with a lot of different kinds of challenges. And communication is probably the most important aspect of what we do in mentoring, and sometimes even more important than the content that we share.
When I describe to people what EFN is, people that don't know EFN, I usually describe it as sort of a giving network, in the sense that even founders that we mentor, we always tell them that you'll have an opportunity next year to be an associate mentor. You can co-mentor, even though you don't have as much experience. You don't have 40 years of experience, so you can see all these patterns. But if you have the willingness to do it and the willingness to give, then you're welcome. And that's very important for us. I think what you're talking about also is consistent with what we found with the University of Michigan in the largest study on entrepreneurial mentoring to date that was written in 2017, funded by the Kauffman Foundation. That top reason why people mentor is to give back. Then second, they learn. Way down is maybe they get some experience that might help them get a job, but they build skills. People enjoy co-mentoring. I've been told by very, very well-known venture capitalists and entrepreneurs out here in the Valley that they believe in co-mentoring.
Everything about entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial journey is about accepting the roller coaster ride, the highs and the lows, and still being able to maintain a sense of resilience, a sense of stability. And mentors and the rest of the startup community are essential for a startup and for a founding team to have that kind of support. So going back to EFN as a giving organization, I think that, you know, if we think about the long-term impact now over 2 decades, I think what we would see if we were to interview some of our early mentees going back a decade or two, they would say that the experience with an EFN mentor had really been, if not transformative, at least a very significant impact in their lives, in the way they think, in the way their companies have grown. And that's really the best that we can do. You know, we're not magicians. We don't have magic wands. We don't. We're not supplying money. So what we're really providing is in many ways, a multifaceted kind of support. There is, of course, business and technology. You know, more what I would call content-specific kinds of knowledge sharing. But the empathy, the feeling that founders get when a mentor can connect with them and communicate effectively, that's really what makes the difference. And that's the point, right? To create the kind of community that we want to support and to have the kinds of relationships that we want entrepreneurs to develop, you know, beyond the time that they are actually actively mentored. That's it. That's how we change the world, right? One entrepreneur at a time.
In fact, that was the inspiration for us to start EFN way back in 2003 at UC Berkeley in a engineering course at UC Berkeley. I was, as you were, a mentor. We also helped lecture once in a while. And I was just finishing up a startup. And I was so inspired by the 20 or 30 mentors in that class. Everybody showed up every Wednesday afternoon. I think it was from 4 to 7. Everyone showed up. And they were just volunteering their time. And so I was reflecting, maybe a year into that course, I was reflecting that, wow, when I was maybe doing my startup, as I was kind of finishing it up at that point, wouldn't it be great to have this kind of support and, have that kind of community, really? And that was the inspiration, at least for me, in asking other people from that class if they wanted to mentor other programs at UC Berkeley. In the second year, we started at Stanford. We're still working with both schools now, really to give founders a community, but also to give mentors a community too, whether it's working together as co-mentors or you've made a friend that you can do some things with. So the community aspect is really, really very important to EFN.
Well, especially in recent years, you've extended the reach of EFN to many countries outside of the United States. Korea, Spain, Australia. I don't remember if there's some others. And that kind of exposure to different cultures, both on a personal level, but also the business cultures, is also very broadening. Both, again, for the startup founding team as well as for mentors. I think that has been very, exciting is not the right word, but it's been very stimulating. It's been a little bit of a different challenge. And I think all of us at any age, regardless of what we do, we need to be constantly stimulated and challenged. We want to be learning new things. We want to reach out and make new kinds of connections. That's really what makes life worthwhile. So it is absolutely giving, but it's giving with such a huge reward on the other end. We can call it psychic income. It's not monetary kind of compensation, but the rewards of being a mentor are really tremendous. But at the same time, mentors have to work at it. They have to invest in order to reap that return on their investment. They, just as we did with that NYU team, you know, we studied their materials. We dug into it. We thought about it. This co-mentor, he did more market research into various aspects of their product and their market, and he made very specific comments about how maybe some things that they hadn't thought of quite as deeply. You know, all of these things are really important. And yeah, so again, entrepreneurship is just another way of looking at life and looking at how we want to build our lives with others. You know, our own team, our own industry, you know, competitors. One of the things I always encourage startup teams to do is they need to reach out to all their stakeholders, including the competitors. You know, talk to as many people as you can. Try to understand how they think. What do they see as important? What do they see as their challenges? And we're very blessed to be located in Northern California, Silicon Valley, where this is really, I think, one of our strengths, is that we have a culture that encourages, promotes, facilitates this type of connection, and even more importantly, is very tolerant of failure. We don't think of failure as a terrible black mark. No, here we see it, oh, it's just another learning opportunity. And sometimes we have to make mistakes in order to learn. We just can't learn it. We can't just sort of expect that everything is going to work out the way we plan.
Yeah. You had mentioned our international work in Spain, Australia, South Korea. We're on our second cohort in South Korea. All the programs are funded by the U.S. State Department as part of the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed with that program, and we had a similar program in Africa with the Bank of Africa, is how grateful those founders are to have conversations and make connections with U.S. mentors. Several have come to the United States and visited with their mentors. Many stay in touch with their mentors. We encourage them to mentor new founders in current programs. For example, we have people from our Australia cohort, mostly from Brisbane, mentoring teams in Seoul, Korea now. So it's very, very exciting to be able to help people. Even some of those people from our Korea program now are mentoring students in the RICE program.
Oh, wow.
So talk about community, right? That's what really gets me excited, is that connection and community and all the enjoyment, you know, that the founders get, as well as the enjoyment that the mentors get, you know. So going forward for EFN, we want to keep building community. I would like to see more engagement. We tend to engage more during these cohorts and programs, and then things drop off. But we're doing more educational videos, many funded by the U.S. government. We call it EFN Learn. I would like to see more programming between these different competitions and events. Some of that might be what we're doing with the state of California with Empower Innovation. Some might be what we're doing with, you know, organizations like Stanford or Skydeck. So we can have opportunities for people to join events, join panels, and learn about opportunities to give back and mentor.
Yeah, I think that's actually very important. The idea of more continuity rather than having discrete events. Entrepreneurship is very much a global phenomenon over the last couple of decades. Every country in the world is seeing entrepreneurship as a critical engine for economic growth. And of course, it really creates so much opportunity for young people. Maybe not in absolute numbers, because most startups fail, so there's a lot of resistance, a lot of risk intolerance, risk avoidance. But the fact that some young people do succeed is just a tremendous sign. It's literally that flag waving that says, here's something that where people can show how they can excel, and they can achieve more than they could have dreamed in many cases. And that's where where EFN can really play a role. It's not so much the baseline is the universalities of entrepreneurship, the journey. But beyond that, because we have had so much more experience here, we can help build more of, let's just call it the infrastructure for that entrepreneurial journey.
Just to pick up on what you're saying about what we can do and how much more we can do, I just want to say that, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do much without, the hundreds of volunteers that mentor or sit on panels or help us out at events. We're a very small organization, but because of our community, particularly the volunteers, and then founders that come back and volunteer, we can do more. We can do more. And so we're always looking for people who would like to help out and contribute. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation today. It's been fascinating, as it always is, talking with you.
Oh, thank you very much, Tom. I'm glad. We always have such a nice, positive energy. And I think that's what, again, the most effective mentors bring to their mentees.
Absolutely.